Wake up, 49er fans. Good to have you here. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. We're brought to you by Sam's Chowder House. And, it's a Wednesday as we get ready for week 4 and the New England Patriots coming to town. Larry, good to see you again, man. The news never sleeps around the San Francisco 49ers. If they're looking for a smooth week, they haven't found one yet.
Wow. I mean, this was a rough loss to the Rams, and it's a short year. And there's an awful lot of people that have given me it just doesn't feel like their year. And, I think you really got to push hard against that. If you're Kyle Shanahan, if you're these players, you got to somehow push through we've accomplished a lot. This isn't our year because there's a lot of adversity in the NFL, and the team that gets through the adversity wins. They're off to a 1-2 start. Worse things have happened, but they blew this last one, and they got to get right against the Patriots. And they better on the back end, Damon, start figuring it out, because Nick Sorensen's defense is not impressive, and only Chris Schneider's special teams is making it look good.
Yeah, God, that's not good. Look, there is still a million miles left in this journey. If an NFL season, I was thinking about this, Larry, if an NFL season was the difference between the distance between San Francisco and San Jose, like that's the difference of an NFL, that's the length of an NFL season, the distance between San Francisco and San Jose, we're not even at the airport yet. Like we're just about passing SFO. There's still an awful long way to San Jose. And that is the one thing that I can offer 49er fans, who I don't begrudge anybody having the lots of bad omens, bad signs to start the year conversation. Look, it's out there. Crucial injuries to important players. Your first round draft pick was shot in broad daylight in downtown San Francisco. There are a lot of ominous beginnings to this year. And just if you want to take all the storylines and throw those out and just talk about what we're seeing on the football field, that hasn't been impressive enough either. But it still can come together. There is no doubt in my mind that Brandon Ayuk is a good football player who will have better days this year than we have seen so far. There is no doubt in my mind that Jordan Mason is going to continue to improve, and how many reps he is going to get is something that you and I are about to address with this Christian McCaffrey trip to Munich, which we'll certainly talk about here in just a little bit.
It is Munich?
Munich, Larry.
I went to town last night screaming on a live stream about, Dusseldorf. It sounds better when you go Dusseldorf. I mean, I got loose last night with Raj, and I'm just like, I started screaming about Dusseldorf. So it's Munich. I stand, like, as Tom Tolbert used to say, like a man with orthopedic shoes, I stand correct.
Look, you don't want to get your Achilles treatments in Dusseldorf, Larry. Everybody knows that. You go to Munich for that. But look, let's just hop right into this situation that Christian McCaffrey finds himself in. He is a player with an injury history. Whenever you hear the word Achilles associated with an NFL running back, it's a serious, serious thing to be concerned about. Christian McCaffrey has basically told the 49ers that he is going to take every step possible to recover from this injury, but he's not going to be stepping back on the field until he is. Does that happen in this season? We certainly hope it does. Matt Barrows of The Athletic reported that McCaffrey has flown to Germany, did so over the weekend to seek treatment. Shanahan confirmed Munich, not Dusseldorf, is the location. And when he's back, we'll get a clearer picture of what his return might look like. Kobe Bryant famously went to Germany to get plates, his plasma spun. Hey, Larry, I got the same thing.
It's platelet-rich injections, plasma-rich injections. It's meant to expedite and speed up the healing process. And I think that's really what we're talking about. But I mean,
I had
Damon,
it done to me, Larry. I had
did
a
you?
bad knee. I had my DNA spun in a centrifuge and injected back into my knee, and it helped. It made
I
things
don't
feel
think so. I don't think it
smoother.
helped. Your 40 time is not good.
Never was. There was not a lot of improvement to be found there, but
There's a lot of separation between Jack and Ozzy and you on the street. When they start moving, they get separation that Ayuk only dreams of.
When you see the Dave Lombardi separation flow chart on my kids away from me, you're going to be like, why is this guy playing in the secondary? He is terrible.
This guy needs to bring his kids to a gated community and stay inside the barrier.
Get that guy more juice boxes.
Yeah. This guy is 3 or 4 juice boxes shy of a full load.
Larry, I need to be on the line of scrimmage. I have to have all my battles in a phone booth. I need to keep my opponent directly in front of me because
you're more like a DJ Jones. You want to keep it in a confined area.
Exactly. You don't want me in the wide 9. I'm never going to make it to the quarterback. No. I'm just not going to make it there.
Bruce ain't getting home. We're leaning too much on Bosa on the other side. He might as well be opposite Bosa because nobody else is getting anything done opposite Nick Bosa.
Look, we'll get to the defensive line in a second, but just this story about Christian McCaffrey, Larry. I mean, It is the thing that I don't want to take from this and start applying it to every player is like a distrust of what the 49ers tell us is wrong with their players. Like when you tell me that Brock Purdy had an MRI and a sore back and he's fine today and the MRI went well. Well, I certainly hope that we're not looking at a team that is now officially taking the stance of downplaying any and all injuries. It feels
there's
like
lots of evidence of that.
Yeah, there is. There is some evidence of that. Or maybe it's just corroborating evidence, not actual evidence you can take into a courtroom. But it's a bad start to the year for guys that you really need to have as part of the group to get it pointed back in the right direction. But you still got Shanahan, you still got Purdy, you still got talent at every layer of this team. It just hasn't come together yet. I'm also going to grade them on the curve of, have you been watching these NFL games around the league? They're really topsy-turvy. I mean, things that are supposed to happen ain't happening all over this league, and things that aren't supposed to happen are. So there is an any given Sunday league that breathes even more life into the any given nature of a Sunday, I think, in the first 4 or 5 Sundays of the year, because these teams are now using September as their preseasons to sort it out and figure it out and get on the same page. So, again, I was asked, when do I need to really worry about the 49ers? And I said, get back to me on Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving, this picture, which is out of focus right now, will officially be in focus around Thanksgiving, and we'll be able to really predict what this looks like. It is way too early for anybody to say the season's over, abandon all hope. It's also pretty hard to say, yeah, they're picking right up where they left off, and we'll see you again in the Super Bowl, everybody. So it hasn't been good, but it's not as bad as some people are trying to make it out to be.
I mean, it's NFL as you would expect it to be. It's yeah, they're 1-2, and yeah, anybody can beat anybody, and yeah, there's no reason for concern, and yeah. Except if you lose Sunday to the Patriots, and then all hell breaks loose. Guys start getting fired, guys start getting cut, the roster starts looking different. You start seeing transactions. You start seeing, we're already saw Shanahan verbally throw the special teams coach under the bus. He could have thrown the defensive coordinator under the bus too, because the Rams, with no Puka and no Cup, scored on their last 4 possessions, and the Niners defense held up very little resistance. There's nothing that the Niners defense is doing right now well. They're not stopping the run. They're not rushing the passer. They're not playing well inside. They're getting beat vertically down the field pretty consistently, like 5 times in the last 2 games. Jefferson beat him. I screamed to you and to others, hey, bro, when somebody beats you up top in the NFL and you get beat by verticals, everybody rubs their hands together and says, ooh, we get to go up top on these guys. The Niners are slow with no pass rush. And until you figure it out, guess what you're going to get? Verticals. Guess what the Rams busted out at every key juncture on Sunday. Verticals. Guess what the Niners did not defend? Those verticals. There was 3 penalties. There was an overthrow by Stafford to Whittington. That could have been a touchdown. He was 5 fucking yards in the clear on Mooney Ward. Isaac Yiadom got burned for a couple PI calls. One was 48 yards. Shanahan mentioned that the biggest disappointment to him Monday when he went through it was the fact that they gave up 130 yards on 3 plays, a 50-yard bomb where Mooney got toasted by Tutu, who ran right by him, and those 2 penalties. And he didn't even mention the Whittington one. That could have been another one. That's way too much. You can't give up 130 yards on 3 snaps. So the Niners have a bunch of problems. Special teams is the most glaring on the surface, but I think the bigger problem is their new defensive coordinator and their new defense. Every year it's a little different. They're so freaking slow on the back end. They don't have a free safety. They don't have anybody who runs sub 4.5. I mean, they do have a couple guys who run sub 4.5, but they don't have, like, the Bengals have like 3 guys in their secondary that run sub 4.4, have tremendous speed in their secondary. The Niners don't have anybody that runs under like mid 4.4. They only have 2 guys in their secondary run under 4.5. That's a slow fucking secondary.
That tremendous Bengals secondary speed has them off to an 0-3 start.
It's true.
But no, your point is well taken. Let me just ask you point blank. Do you think they got the solution to the problem in the room? Do you think that they can figure this out with what they have? Not who they might add or what trade they could execute, but do you think the guys in the locker room today can figure this out? Because I do. Like, I do.
Are you speaking specifically about the secondary, Damon? Or are you talking about defense overall, or what's
a little bit of both? Let's just start with the secondary. Let's start with the secondary.
I think they have enough if they use their right guys. For example, Isaac Yiadom's getting burned. Bernardo Green's on the bench. Malik Mustafa they really like, but he's a box safety who loves to hit. Unfortunately, so's Hufanga and so's Brown. So I kind of think you need more of a complementary guy, a safety who can really cover, especially in a sport where there's tremendous pass cover, tremendous passing, numbers year after year, and they always go up. So in short, I would say, if the Niners could get Renardo Green on the field for Yiadom, if they could activate a guy like Darrell Luter instead of Mustafa, who I like, but he doesn't, you got 2 box safeties. You don't need a 3rd box safety. You need another coverage guy. So I would say that's their answer on the back end. Unfortunately, my answer to you would be they don't have the pieces. If I said, let's talk about the front, like, I think they could sit Devondre Campbell and go with Curtis Robinson right now and maybe D Winters when he gets healthy. And I think they could be fine at the second level, or not fine, but better than they're at. But on that on the front with no Hargrave, that they're going to have to go outside. They're going to have to trade for DJ Jones, sign somebody off a practice squad, sign somebody off the street. They're going to have to get creative.
All right, before we get to the line of scrimmage, let's just stay in the secondary for a minute, because isn't this a failure of roster construction then? They clearly drafted Mustafa thinking we're going to get more than a box safety out of this guy. He's going to play the pass well, because they had to add Logan Ryan at the midway point last year to come in and play safety for them, right? So they knew that this was an area they had to address, and it felt like they did address it in the draft. I'd be willing to live with any and all Malik Mustafa 100-mile-an-hour mistakes as he figures it out, because the guys that are there are still getting picked on anyways, and there might not be a lot of there to them after they're done getting picked on, where I think Mustafa is a ball of clay I want to see molded into a real NFL player. I'd be willing to live with his mistakes, considering everyone else is making them too. And I also think that Talanoa Hufanga is a guy who you just got to put out there and believe in. I mean, I think it's tough coming back from that injury, obviously. But, man, he was a good player early on. He didn't look to be the type of player that was like only going to be good against the run, not good against the pass, not in his rookie year. The bloom came off the rose a little bit in the second year.
He's a slower guy, though. I mean, he's a guy who's really good at attacking the mesh point. He's really good at the line of scrimmage, at knowing when to blow things up. His timing on the short passes is really good. He's really good within 5 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. If you make him play coverage down the field, he's hanging on for dear life. He doesn't have that kind of speed. He doesn't have the kind of makeup speed. And Mustafa might have, I haven't seen enough of Mustafa to say he can't cover, but I have seen enough of Jair and Hufanga to see that they're much better up on the line than they are in coverage. They both can do it, but they lack long speed. And when you go up against Tutu Atwell, he runs right on by.
Let's talk about Renardo Green getting snaps at safety then. Is that too much of an ask? Because he played a little of it in college.
Well, I asked him about it in the locker room last week, and he said he doesn't think that's going to happen. He says the way they coach up their corners and their safeties are so different that he doesn't see that happening, but he could do it if the coaches asked him to do it. That was his exact line. And I think he might be their best option as a pure pass coverage free safety. But I mean, it doesn't really matter if you have a good second. I mean, first of all, it doesn't matter if you have a good young secondary, if you have no rush up front. The Niners, more than anything, need to get more rush up front. If that's trading for a Son Reddick or signing somebody or having somebody in the building performing better than they're performing, they got to get more done up front, or these young DBs in the back end are going to be, hanging out to dry. And Devondre Campbell has been targeted like 18 times, and he's given up like 16 receptions.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's doing out there, but it ain't getting done, and it's time to see somebody new. And I think it's just a matter of he had requisite speed. He lost that requisite speed, and now he's just toast, man. He's toast. And then people are seeking him out and exploiting him. So they're almost forcing him off the field.
I got some Packers fans in my life, and there's an awful lot of that's why he's yours, going around in those text messages between me and some Packers fans. Like there's a reason why he's not in Green Bay, who's trying to do something big this year. And, good luck with that. Forget what we think about him. The NFL has told us what it thinks about him. Like you said, he's being targeted and picked on by 3 different head coaches now. He has been identified as the weak point defensively by the other teams. Forget about us. Forget about Matt Barrows. Forget about Dave Lombardi. Forget about Larry or me. It's NFL teams are identifying him as we're going to pick on him. So I think you got to get him off the field. We said the same thing with Ronnie Bell, who I can't help but notice is still on this team, which I don't know why. And I'm afraid that he's going to create a logjam that is going to prevent younger players getting opportunities to prove that they can do better than that. And that's going to bring me to Javon Hargrave, who obviously came into the headlines this week, torn triceps. Maybe that explains some of those terrible reps. I saw the videos that Kevin Krueger was sharing on Twitter about the Hargrave. I mean, he was standing up and playing patty cake at one point in that game. He wasn't even pushing forward with his hips. He was just up and standing there. It was bad, but he was hurt. Okay. So he's been a big letdown so far, right? Since Javon Hargrave.
Well, first of all, if you're hurt, get off the field. And, if you're hurt, if you're on the field, you're going to be graded. If you're not on the field, then you're hurt. If you're hurt, get off the field. That would be my message to anybody who's hurt. Get off the field, because you are going to be evaluated. And for Kev to put that out there, he said if he's not hurt, then this is bad effort. And then all these people are like, "Oh, you're an idiot." It's like, no, you have more information than he had when he put that out. There's this
right.
That's why they call it a timeline.
Right. Time is it's sequential. We know this, right? Some people do not know this anymore. Anyway, somebody.
A lot of people thought that the airplane into the first tower was an accident, and then it's funny when the second one went into the tower, it was like, it's probably not an accident.
Not an accident anymore.
We know more as we get more information.
Right. I wasn't going to go to 9/11 for my example, but
okay.
you just drove the point so home. Forget my example. Here's what I wanted to say, Larry, about about Javon Hargrave. Look, he's a player that when they signed him, there was a lot of hope for him being the right piece and the right fit. This is going to give him the opportunity to take some inventory of his career, maybe come in a better refocused player after knowing he hasn't been particularly impressive with the 49ers. Maybe this will be good for him going forward. And you got to hold out a little hope because this guy's under contract through 2026. So you do still want something out of Javon Hargrave when he is able to return to the team. And you hope he returns in better shape and more ready to go than he has been since he showed up in Santa Clara. But let me break it down like this, Larry. Let me offer a little hope for the Javon Hargrave injury right here and right now. If you and I had 49ers defensive player survivor, and we were going to use the tribal council to vote a player off the island, wouldn't Javon Hargrave had been one of those players you would have submitted early to be voted off the 49ers defense island survival style? Because, clearly Bosa's not going anywhere. Ward's not going anywhere. Everybody in the secondary is not going anywhere. Fred Warner's not going anywhere. Leonard Floyd's been disappointing 2 weeks here, but he's not going anywhere. I think that by subtracting Hargrave, who, even as he's playing poorly, has such a large paycheck, you're forced to keep on playing him. Like, his paycheck was probably keeping him on the field as much as his production. Now he's off the field. He's off the field, and to me, the better player, Malik Collins, is now going to get more reps. And what you hope to be a better player, Jordan Elliott, will now get more reps. It might be, and I'm stretching. I'm admitting
this is
I'm
a stretch,
Larry. I'm admitting I'm stretching. But this is a little bit of maybe, hopefully, addition by subtraction. Two guys who are more ready to make an impact now will get more reps than the guy who was not making an impact. That's my hope for this injury.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wishful thinking. I mean, you're depleting your depth in a spot where everybody plays. It's not like all your backup offensive linemen may suit up and never play. Your backup defensive linemen will play every week. So it does matter who your guys are, top to bottom. Whether they're the ones, the twos, the threes, anybody you have up on game day is going to get some run. I think it's a good time for us to reflect on the Hargrave move. One thing when you do this for a living and you give opinions every day, you have to own them, and you're going to be right and you're going to be wrong. If you sit in front of these microphones and then you record this stuff like YouTube does and you save it forever, you're going to be right. You're going to be wrong. I can sit there and tell people, oh yeah, I was right about Brock Purdy. And I was, but I also have to sit there and say I was wrong about Javon Hargrave, because I was wishing for, at the time, them to do exactly what they did, which was Kinlaw got, if we remember the context, Kinlaw had gotten bounced around by Kelsey in the NFC Championship game, kicked out of the club, a lot of bad film. And you're looking at a Niner defensive line that had a massive hole at defensive tackle, especially in the pass rushing game. The game was becoming more of a pass rushing game. And they said, hey, we want a top interior pass rushing tackle. And I absolutely signed off on that. I was like, forget all these other needs. They need an absolute awesome pass rushing interior tackle. Unfortunately, nobody explained to me what that signing would do to their roster. And I never had the context of, well, do you want Hargrave or do you want this? All I thought is, do I want to add Hargrave to the mix? And yeah, I wanted to add Hargrave to the mix. But essentially, it was a NFL salary cap type trade. And the Niners, in return, cut Hassan Ridgeway, Azeez Al-Shaair, Samson Ebukam, Emmanuel Mosley, Jimmy Ward, and others, like 2 or 3 others. Those 5 guys were really, really key depth and quality run defenders. And they got rid of like 3 or 4 of their very best run defenders who were very much underrated. And they added Hargrave, who's a good pass rusher, but not a good run defender. And then shocker, they added all this pass rusher. That's nice, but he didn't give them tons of pass rush. And the lesson of free agency should be learned, which is the free agent he's going to leave a bigger void on the team that he leaves than he's going to add to the team that he goes to. And that's exactly what happened. And then the Niners regressed against the run. And to this moment, they haven't stopped the run. They have not been the same team since they signed Hargrave, Javon Hargrave. And to me, if the Niners don't get back in this regime to the bowl, we're going to look at that move as that was the beginning of the end, because they made a bold play, and it really had an adverse effect on their run D. And look at the run D now. Look at their run D last year. They got gashed in the preseason. They only didn't get gashed in the regular season because the offense put up 30 a lot of times. But as soon as they played good teams in the playoffs, Green Bay gashed them. Aaron Jones ran up and down the field. The Lions gashed them. They were slightly better in the Super Bowl because Casey didn't have a real runner, but or they did. But I mean, they didn't have the kind of rushing game that the other teams did. And so there you go. And now this year they're not stopping the run either. I mean, they didn't shut down Kyron. They did a nice job against Breece Hall in week 1, but Ty Chandler went for 8.2 a carry in week 2. So their run D is not nearly as good. And they got a massive hole in the middle.
The Patriots are coming in here with Ramondre Stevenson, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you are going to see 40 carries by the Patriots over 4 quarters of football for sure. I mean, they are coming to run the football against the 49ers. So, we're going to get another one of those litmus tests again. And it's an easier stuff the box to shut that down scenario and game plan for the 49ers against the Patriots than it was the Rams, who, again, had over-the-top capability. If you look at the New England Patriots roster, and look, Larry, you and I have been around enough professional sports in our lives to know that there's not a single bum on an NFL roster. There's not a single bum in a major league lineup. Their skill level to play their sport is world-class level extraordinary, whether they're succeeding in it or not. Just to make these teams means you are an unbelievable athlete in whatever your chosen discipline is. To be
I'm sensing a big butt coming.
Well, it's the least impressive depth chart and roster you can open in the NFL. The New England Patriots on paper are god-awful. The New England Patriots, from a household name, fantasy football, tertiary fan, you like football. You don't live for it. The New England Patriots are essentially unrecognizable to the casual football fan. And the 49ers should steamroll this team. Steamroll them. And Vegas still believes that. With all the 49ers problems, with all of their unimpressive play, they're still the biggest overdog in the NFL this season. Right now with 10.5. Has anyone caught 11 or 12 against anybody? The 49ers are still the biggest favorite on the board this weekend. Given all their struggles, that's how bad the Patriots have been this year. And the Patriots' offensive line is dreadful. So if this is a game where pass rush is hard to find and slowing down a run is hard to find, whether you win or lose, those are bad signs for the 49ers, because this is a Patriots team that they should absolutely bully right the hell out of Santa Clara.
They should, but the Patriots did run against the Jets last week, who have a better defense than the Niners. 5.2 a carry. 5.2 a carry. Antonio Gibson is another guy they have now. They have the Commanders ex running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he could easily burn Devondre Campbell up and down the field. But Gibson, Ramondre Stevenson, they ran last week for 5.2 a carry. So and they don't have great weapons. Demario Douglas is their best receiver. He's a tiny little receiver from Liberty, second-year receiver, but he's little, but he's good. Austin Hooper, who played at De La Salle, is a Patriot.
Hunter Henry's a pretty good tight end.
Hunter Henry, Jalen Polk, the rookie, is not bad. Tyquan Thornton, I believe, is their burner. They don't have great weapons, but I'll say this: This is going to be a major test for the Niners defensive line, because you're right. This Jets team last week against this Patriots offensive front, 7 sacks and 15 hits on the quarterback. So if the Niner defensive front doesn't get right in this game, that almost would guarantee you it's going to be a bad year.
It feels like that. I see Broken Metronome saying, Christ, man, I know you're trying to keep your content count up, but this team is not really going to contend for a Super Bowl. Okay, so I don't think Larry and I are doing anything to keep content up. We're never going to create an illusion so people can watch either through feeling good about it or out. Yeah, we're not going to bullshit you. When the team's bad, we will tell you. And we're not ready to tell you that right now. This Patriots game will be a very important ingredient in the stew of, is this going to be a good or bad football season? We will know more after week 4 than we know through the first 3 weeks, just based on the opponent that's coming. But let me say this, Broken Metronome, as doom and gloomy as you want to be about Super Bowl contention, again, there are only 1 million miles left to travel in this season. So don't tell me you're almost there. There are 1 million miles. The amount of things that can happen for the Niners that can go wrong for other teams that they're competing against around the rest of this league. What if I told you every single starting quarterback in the NFC tore his ACL this weekend? Do you still think that they could reach the Super Bowl? Of course you would. Of course you would. And so, there is an awful
Is that where they're at? Every
No.
quarterback's got to tear an ACL before they're back in the hunt.
Here's where they are, Larry. Here's where they are. And believe me, look, Vegas is not a true indicator of what will happen. They're just trying to create action for bettors. But despite the 1-2 start, the 49ers are still second in odds to win the Super Bowl. In the league, they are still second favorite in Las Vegas.
Do you have those numbers in front of you?
Yes, right now. The 49ers.
Where's Green Bay? Because that's the team I'd bet. I'd bet Green Bay.
Well, so I have the biggest risers and fallers. Despite being 1-2, the 49ers are still second in odds to win the Super Bowl. The Vikings, and by the way, so there are other teams whose performances have greatly changed their odds through 3 basically unimpressive performances. It was a good win Monday nighter against the New York Jets, but through 3 just middling 49er games and one of the worst losses you've seen them take against the Rams, their odds are not shifting all over the place. Where meanwhile, the Vikings have gone from 50-1 to 28-1. The Steelers went from 50-1 to 33-1. The Colts went from 125-1 to 80-1. The Commanders went from 200-1 to 100-1.
Commanders look good with Jaden Daniels the way he played the other night.
Wow. Dude, the Bears should have taken Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I said before. Now, I'll say it. It's all out there. It's it's on my YouTube channel, and I went through this many times. But I said of this year's, I said I love Penix and I love Daniels, and I don't believe in Caleb Williams. I don't believe in Drake May. Didn't believe in the other guys. Don't believe in the other guys. Do believe in Penix. Do believe in Daniels. Daniels showed me a lot when he went to LSU. Especially this last year, he improved incredibly. The accuracy and some of the balls that he threw and the touch was amazing. And then he showed that the other night. I mean, he looked great. And we haven't seen Penix yet, but I'm a big Penix fan.
I am too, obviously, with his ties back to IU. But Jaden Daniels just, we got to watch a full first game out of him. At least, the first time I saw the Commanders play an entire game this season on Monday Night Football. And dude, he looks really good. I mean, he looked really comfortable. And Terry McLaurin, all of a sudden, he's got a quarterback to throw him the ball.
Makes you kind of wonder why they traded Jahan Dotson, because Dotson, I think, is still a pretty good receiver, and they just kind of gave him away to the Eagles. That was kind of weird. But I think they'd be better if they had another receiver. But they made the move. But yeah, Washington looks good. I mean, that was, to me, if you said, and I've watched a lot of the NFL in the first 3 games, if there's a surprise, it's how bad Cincinnati looked against Washington. They look terrible.
Dude, if the amount of people who just sit around and what's amazing is you got people who, have dedicated their careers to try to do the best they can to publicly pretend that Brock Purdy isn't good at this. It correlates directly with the amount of people who are trying to sell you how good Trevor Lawrence will be at this. Like Brock Purdy is 10 times the quarterback Trevor Lawrence has been so far in their careers. And I don't care about circumstances or situations. These guys have been on their own respective teams long enough to be what they are on the teams that they are on. And Trevor Lawrence looks non-functional. Joe Burrow is a hell of a quarterback. We know that. He's a stud. You can see it. I like a lot about him. I didn't like his pregame outfit walking, and he looked like a Ken doll, for fuck's sakes. But
that hair. I mean, come on, bro. That hair. Might be time to just switch up the hair just because you're off to a terrible start.
Right. Shave it. Whatever that hair was supposed to do to ignite the team. You're 0-3 for the first time.
You're 0-3.
But that's a bad Bengal team around a good quarterback.
Really? I thought they were a really good Bengal team.
But they're okay. But here's the thing. If Brock Purdy gets demerits for all of his weapons, at what point are we going to say this Jamar Chase guy makes Joe Burrow look probably a little bit better than he might be? I mean, Jamar Chase is awesome. And
Higgins, and they get guys.
It's amazing how weapons are scored against Purdy and not even considered in evaluations of other quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I've already gone screaming and yelling about to the the Purdy idiocy, and it really truly is idiocy at this point. There's just a lot of people that are just mad. Brock's. If you said to me, I'm a Niner fan, Krug, but I've been, whatever, on a different continent, and I've, update me on what's going on with this year's Niners. I would be like, Juwan Jennings is playing his ass off. Brock Purdy's playing his ass off. All their weapons, for the most part, other than that, are hurt or shitty.
Jordan Mason looks good.
JP Mason has been rumbling, and Fred Warner and Demo Lenore are truly special. And everything else is just crap. Everything else, I don't care. Bosa looks awful. Hargrave, before he went down, he looks bad. Collins, none of these games. Leonard Floyd's been totally AWOL the last 2 weeks. Campbell's just picked on routinely. The secondary looks really slow. They don't look good.
I'm not going to say that Bosa looks awful, but he looks like a one and done defensive player of the year.
He doesn't look anything like the 18.5 sack Bosa.
No.
I mean, what about the play in the second game where was it Darnold that went running up the sideline and Bosa's like jogging after him? It's like, dude, that's all you got. That's all you got, really? And, you're gonna jog. It was like a second quarter scramble. He's like, kind of, hey. So they're not much right now. I mean, we'll see. There's a world of problems in Niner land. But to rip Brock Purdy when he's literally like one of like 5 guys on this totally mediocre football team that's playing ball is just, shows that people don't know shit. Or they just park their car at the corner of head coach and quarterback for clicks.
Right.
It's as simple as that. The one thing I will push back on is this idea, like I've been getting this. I got this one this morning. D'Amico Ryans got off to a slow start. His first 8 games with the 49ers, they gave up 33 points, 11, 30, 28, 17, 30, 22, 31. See, people forget that the theme during this time was D'Amico Ryans ain't it. Okay. But you know what? My counter to that, Johnny Dells, would be the whole purpose of having a guy with no freaking experience in Nick Sorensen was that it was the continuity, and they were going to hit the ground running. And if you go with a new guy, there's a ramp up period, there's an adjustment period, and we don't got time for that. We gotta go into go with continuity and hit the ground running and make sure that we don't waste even one game, because there's only one team that gets home field advantage in the conference, and blah 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 blah. Now here we are, 3 games in. The defense is a joke on all 3 levels. It used to be totally, they have no weakness. Now they have no strength. And people are like, give it time. Give it time. The season's going to be over in 3 weeks if they keep losing.
They needed to stack wins early. a 3-0 start would have been, a lot more valuable than 1-2. But again, I really think that there's a good football team in front of me. We just haven't seen it yet. I think it's coming. I do. I think it's coming. There's a part of me.
They look gassed to me. They look a little tired. I don't know why. They look a little tired.
Hey, why is that? You want to call it Super Bowl hangover, or just off season, never really came together, or whatever? I don't know. But this is a fork in the road game very early on here. This is the first mile marker, this fourth game where, look, I don't want to count out any other NFL team, but you're a 10.5 point favorite at home against a dreadfully understocked and under-talented compared to your talent football team in the New England Patriots. So it's a get right week for sure. And if they do not get right, if we do not feel good about the performance against New England, then the hand wringing, I think, begins. I just think it's
the hand wringing should have already begun. I mean, come on. You just blew a 14-0 lead to the Rams with no Cooper Kupp and no Puka Nacua. You're giving up verticals. I mean, when you're giving up verticals, this is not fucking Madden. You can't just give up bombs in Hail Marys. When you're giving up Hail Marys, that means teams can score on you on one play. So they got to get right. They don't put heat on the quarterback. Campbell can't cover anything. And on the back end, they're so slow that guys are running right by them at will. And when you put on film that you can't stop verticals, you get verticals. So they better practice this week and expect the bomb, because they're getting the bomb. And the Patriots don't even have the weapons to really do it, and they're still going up top. So that's what we're going to see. I mean, and it's very, very frustrating to me. Did you catch any of Coach Yak's Twitter this morning?
No. And I do follow him, and he does populate on my timeline all the time, but I was dropping kids off. I didn't really jump into it. No,
Pardon my take is what, Damon? What is that? Is that a
pardon my take? It's the Big Cat pro PFT commenter. It's the Barstool podcast.
Barstool podcast. Okay, so I what time is this pod? I mean, it's on all the time. Obviously, it's posted. But here we go. Here, I want to play you this one cut from. This is Mike Silver, who went on as a guest. And Damon, this is really good audio. Listen to this. Tell me what you think of this.
Kept talking about Brock.
Well, here we go.
Basically means
hold on.
Mike Shanahan needs. There's got 49er headquarters referred to as the Shanacam, which basically means Mike Shanahan needs to watch meetings and practice ASAP virtually.
That's awesome.
So some people think he's the shadow GM. I spent a bunch of time with him in May and June of 2022. And so in those conversations, I would ask about Trey Lance, of course, and Jimmy. And he kept talking about Brock Purdy because he'd seen some minicamp tape. And I was like, God, he's kind of weirdly into Brock Purdy, but whatever. He's the 262nd pick. Now they open against the Bears. It's Trey Lance's first game as the unquestioned starter. The day before, I go to Mike Shanahan's room, and I'm sitting up there, and I'm asking him about Trey Lance, and he again brings up Purdy, and he says, when you have a guy like that in your building, you don't let him out. And I'm like, are we talking about, thinking,
yeah.
And, so he's still got it.
Yeah. This is why I'm saying, like, how is he not Brock Purdy is a guy who it took him going to a Super Bowl for everyone to be like, okay, maybe he's actually really good.
Yeah.
And Mike Shanahan, before he even takes a snap, the NFL is like, this guy is going to be good.
There is something at 4.
So I don't know, Damon. I thought that was really interesting.
It is interesting.
Not just the Purdy part, but the other part that Mike Shanahan could be your kind of in the closet GM. I've inquired many times to Kyle during this regime, what exactly does Dad do? And Kyle will be, he does everything. Yeah, he doesn't have anything. He doesn't do anything, but he does everything. And and then you'll see him in a camp in the end zone. And you'll see him, looking at, and he's an active watcher. Like if you watch him at camp, Damon, he's doing this. He's not just standing there with his hands behind his back. He's got a piece of paper and
Yeah,
he'll
he's
be
taking
like
notes.
looking up, he's looking down, he's writing notes, he's looking up, he's writing notes. You know what I mean? He's got an
consigliere.
active role.
He is the team's consigliere. There is no doubt that a lot of people who look at it this way: the person not going to Mike Shanahan for advice is the idiot in the room. You go talk to Mike Shanahan about what's going on with your football team. That guy knows football. Now, we could also, I'm sure, do many more videos about the Mike Shanahan thought this guy was going to be a stud and he never even signed a second NFL contract. Like, Mike Shanahan is not the perfect barometer of any all NFL predictive talent, but that's
not a personality.
All right, that's a great story that Mike Silver shared. But it's
he's not a personnel guy, but he definitely knows quarterbacks, right? He knows offense. I mean, he knows running back. I mean, Mike Shanahan and Kyle have had a great run at handicapping running backs. Terrell Davis, Alandis Gary, Clinton Portis, Mike Anderson. Kyle's had a bunch of guys. That they got a good eye for running backs, and I would say at least Mike, has a good eye for quarterbacks. If you like Purdy early on, I do think it's funny because that is exactly the same point, the same mini camp that I was like, are you kidding me? This guy is good. So it is funny that Mike and I took that same takeaway away, and he was thinking so much about Purdy early on. But it goes to show that,
so wait, what
Mike Shanahan have great personnel chops.
What have we learned in this show? Munich, not Dusseldorf.
Not Dusseldorf.
Krueger equals Mike Shanahan. Those are our takeaways from this show. Here's what
if I see it, then Shanahan sees it. If Shanahan sees it, then I see it. No, but I mean, I do find it interesting that because it was minicamp, and I was like, I seriously was watching minicamp that year, going like looking around to see if anybody else was seeing what I was seeing. That Brock Purdy was clearly mastering the drills better than Trey. And was doing everything better than Trey. I mean, the ball was coming out more accurately, and he just looked better. And I was like, what the heck is going on here?
Invader
he looked way better than Sudfeld.
Why don't we reach out to Mike and have him on the show to talk about just that? Here's the thing. I don't think Mike would do that. I don't think he would undercut his kid. I don't think he would agree to the show, Larry, but see if you can get him on Wake Up. See if we can get Mike Shanahan.
We'll try. Third string all pros. Fix your live ads, Larry. They're fucking annoying. Third string all pro, I respectfully decline.
What do you mean fix your ads? What's wrong with your ads?
The ads sometimes will run inside the show. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's YouTube. That's what happens.
Well, I mean, I could block them all out, but we wouldn't. We wouldn't make any money. And
how about
YouTube?
This?
We're working for YouTube, but I mean, YouTube is our master. It's not a radio show per se. We don't have 9-minute stop sets after 7 minutes of content, but we are. The ads are the ads.
Yeah, well, that's the way it goes, and that's why you get to watch YouTube for free because you have to sit and watch a few ads. You can also pay premium. You can pay to make all those ads go away forever if it's bothering you so much, or you could cut me and Larry checks for $50,000 today, and we'll never. I mean, we'll say Sam's Chowder House. We don't need to talk about your lobster rolls anymore. But
the key, Damon, when you get a question that you don't want to answer, is be empathetic. I hear where you're coming from. And I do hear your complaint.
I feel you.
I feel you. Hey, bro. I feel you.
Hey, Larry, you know what I would like? I've been doing some advanced scouting myself. Why don't you show me a lobster roll I can believe in? I feel like we've gone way too long.
Gabriel says, are Mike and Larry sharing notes? Yes, we are. We're sharing notes on players. Yes. And if you come to the Niners game on a Sunday, you need to go here on a Saturday.
Look at that. Ooh. Look at that blue sky. Look at the blue sky, by the way, not guaranteed.
This room is amazing, by the way.
I do guarantee you that lobster roll is going to look like that. The sky might not be that blue, but that's the way the lobster roll looks. That's the way the paella looks. Wait and you see this cioppino. Oh, my God. It should have an OnlyFans account. That's how sexy that cioppino is.
And those are the portions, by the way. If you're looking at this, you're going, whoa, they really have that many? They give you that much food? They really do. I mean, like, and the smell in the room was they're making drinks and they're fire and fish, and it's just awesome.
Right.
But that lobster roll that's heaping with lobster, you do get that much lobster. And
Right.
the paella is that much.
Somebody was complaining. They're like, man, that lobster roll is a $30 sandwich. Well, lobster is a $30 menu order, and you get an entire lobster basically in your lobster roll. It is a ridiculous amount of lobster. You have to pick lobster off the top of it so you can fit it in your mouth, unless you have an OnlyFans page, in which case maybe that's easier for you.
One thing to remember, by the way, is they have the trucks as well. So I think you can go to Sam's Chowder House website and find out where their Sam's Chowder House mobile will be in the Bay Area, so that if you're not in Half Moon Bay, because let's be honest, Half Moon Bay is not like, hey, just pop over to Half Moon Bay for a couple minutes, and then it's like you're going for the day kind of a thing. It takes a while to get to Half Moon Bay, whether it's the 1, it's the 92. So once you're there, you're going to spend a day out by the beach, but don't wait until you have a full day. Go to Sam's website, find out where the Chowder Mobile is at in downtown San Francisco, downtown San Jose. It moves around the Bay, and go to one of those locations, and you can dabble and try it out for yourself via the Sam's Chowder House mobile truck.
We need to do a Sam's Chowder Mobile tracker. We just need to have like a tracker going on at all times. Maybe I'll breaker. I see the mobile on 680 South going about 65 miles an hour. Breaker. I don't know how it happened, but we got a Chowder Mobile in Dusseldorf right now.
looking for something for Christian. He needs a little extra. Join us in Munich. There you go. Sam's Chowder House.
Thanks to Sam's Chowder House.
It says oyster bar on the bottom there. I didn't see that before, but man, I got to say, even though it's not pictured there, the oysters Rockefeller, amazing. Damon and I went and met with the great owner of Sam's Chowder House, and we ordered the oysters Rockefeller. And then he said to the waiter, make that 2 orders. That was a great moment when he said,
like, look at these guys. We're gonna need 2 of those.
We're gonna two orders of the Rockefellers. We put them down. Hey. Oh, the butter, the cheese,
like and subscribe. Think about Sam's for a day getaway, a special occasion, great date night, nice family in town. It is the ultimate kiss between land and sea in California. You will absolutely love it. Like I said, it's a great place to celebrate birthdays. Larry, happy birthday to Hall of Fame.
Also, my birthday. I'm actually, my birthday's January 12th.
Happy birthday to John Lynch, not you.
Oh, okay. Happy birthday, John Lynch.
Happy birthday to a Hall of Famer. He turns 53 years old today. 53. One of the best safeties of all time. One of the smarter football players and harder hitting football player. I'm telling you, you go watch a John Lynch highlight tape. That motherfucker would be suspended more often than Derwin James. He was
a bad man. You know what? I was saying this about Demo Lenore, but I'll say it about John Lynch. He's a good guy and a bad man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, John Lynch only led with the crown of his helmet. Like, that's how he preferred to tackle. He was a monster out there.
Oh, John Lynch. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, John Lynch has done a great job. Okay. Now we can go into the failed top of the draft, and that's real. And he has to own that too. But he's done a great job. I'm a little biased because I root for people I like. And, you know, I have a hard time separating this one thing is that, you know, during the pandemic, I lost both my parents. And my dad died first, or my mom died first. My dad died second. And when my dad passed, you know, just out of the blue, John Lynch didn't know my dad. And yet, just from knowing me, he reached out and left a very nice, heartfelt message on my machine. If I had answered, he would have done it to me directly. And I just think John Lynch is a classy person. And I just, to me, that was like a terrible moment in my life. And I was feeling about as low as I could feel. And that lifted me up in the moment. So I think John Lynch is a very, very good person. I think he is a great face of the franchise, a great president. He's had to learn on the job as a personnel guy, and there have been bumps in the road at the top of the draft. But look at the rosters that he's assembled, regardless of whether you succeeded in round 1, 2, or round 6 or 7, or after the draft. Look at just the rosters that he's assembled here in San Francisco. They've been consistently among the deepest in the NFL. They're doing a really good job for the most part on day 2 and day 3, and after the draft and in free agency. If they can match their success on day 2 and 3 with, and start to produce on day 1, they're going to get over the top. Unfortunately, they've missed on day 1, and I think that's the number one reason they haven't gotten over the top. So, but I'm a big John Lynch fan. I think overall, John Lynch is doing a very good job.
Right.
He's got a hit on the first round picks.
Here's the thing. He doesn't qualify for great GM, but he has already qualified for very good GM. The
results are good.
His free agent signing of Javon Hargrave has left some to be desired, but he swung 2 of the single biggest trades in the history of this franchise for Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams. No regrets on either of those. And then you get into
thievery on the Williams. Thievery.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then you get into all the other stuff that I think probably means less to fans, but because we're around these guys professionally, we see the difference between who does it well, who does it poorly. He is an incredible ambassador, not just for the 49ers, but for the sport of football, for the NFL. John Lynch would be a fantastic NFL commissioner one day. Don't you think?
Yeah. I mean,
I think he's the greatest commissioner.
He's a credible guy. He's a smart guy. He's a tied to football's more violent past, but he's also class personified. He's smart.
He's a man with a moral compass.
He's a good face. I mean, the Niners, I said this, I remember talking to somebody with the Niner front office during the Harbaugh era. I'm like, you got a hell of a team here, except there's no likable face of the franchise.
What are you talking about, Larry? I was sitting there giving you all opportunities to love me.
Yeah, you got Shanky in the back, Trent Baalke. You had, weirdo Jim Harbaugh, and that's the only way to describe Jim Harbaugh. He's just weird. You had Kaepernick, who was brooding and angry and had his own agenda. And then you had a defense that had a bunch of good players on it, but a lot of them were kind of rough. And, guys that were, Ray McDonald, Aldon Smith, guys who had some problems, guys who, you didn't necessarily know what you were getting from. And they needed they really, even though they had a great team, Damon, they didn't have a very likable face of the franchise.
Well, and they had
now they do.
They had the terrible media guy too for a while. Aaron, what was his name?
Salkin.
Aaron Salkin. Oh, that guy sucked. He was so hard to work with and deal
he was
with.
So young. I mean, Aaron Salkin was like a baby. I mean, he had to be no more than 25 or 26 at the time. I mean, he was really young.
He was terrible.
Yeah. He was out over his skis. He was in over his head.
Yeah. The Niners are very happy that they've got a guy like John Lynch in the building, helping steer the building. And again, the only thing that we can say that he's guilty of is not winning a Super Bowl and not hitting on early premium draft picks in the first round. Otherwise, though, it's been good. I like the guy. And it is something when you go through a moment in life and somebody who you weren't expect to reach out to you does, oh my God, it stays with you forever, doesn't it? When my dad passed away, Larry, I got the single most random note that I've ever gotten in my life, and it was from Ted Robinson. Ted Robinson had just lost his father not too long before I lost mine, and he heard about it, and he wrote me one of the kindest, compassionate letters. And I know Ted, but not well at all. Like, I would have never expected. There was no expectation that Ted Robinson will be reaching out to me. Ted Robinson wrote me one of the sweetest letters I've ever received in my life. And I've always liked Ted as a broadcaster. Teddy Ballgame. He's really good. Now there's just I can't get enough of him. I mean, he's the best. So
yeah, I mean, it does stick with you. Violent XRP pointing to McCaffrey retiring. Are you seeing anything that says that?
Many reports. I mean, let's see what the description of many reports are. Is there anything on ESPN.com that says Christian McCaffrey considering retirement? That is a no. Let's go.
No, but I do have to admit that when a guy goes to, I mean, I don't believe this report, but I'm just saying when a guy goes to Germany, that means that he's exhausted a lot of possibilities here, and that he's somewhat desperate for an answer. We're in a weird spot with this McCaffrey thing. One, the team just extended him. Two, he's not an old guy. He's got significant career left, you would think. Three, this is the kind of injury that would alter your career arc. So, and then four, it's like, is there any way to go in surgically for somebody who's got what he has, which we're going to call Achilles tendonitis? Is there any way to surgically go in there and do anything, or proactively, or do you just have to wait for it to rupture and then have a surgery? Because, I mean, it doesn't seem like we're waiting. It's like, was Christian coming back? Well, he's got pain. Okay, but then if he does come back, how long can he be back before he ruptures it? And then how long would he be gone? And it's just, you see what we got, all these different timelines working and risk mitigation. And, it's like, what's the right plan? I mean, is there anything that they can do to make this so it doesn't rupture? It doesn't sound like there is. And I don't know. I mean, I'm asking, I know this sounds incredibly ignorant, but I'm not a doctor. I have no idea about this stuff.
Can I give you the one, here's the one bit of good news I guess I can attach to it. There's only one other time I've ever heard a player going to Germany, and that was when Kobe did it. And Kobe went over there to get treatments that were unavailable in the United States. Maybe there's something going on in that regard where he had to go to Germany to find what he was looking for. Kobe came back and played pretty damn well after going to Germany.
Yeah, I was going to ask, when in his career, Damon, did he have that? Was that at the very end, or did he have a lot of career after that?
That's a great question. I would have to bring up the Kobe career injury timeline. I don't want to Google that.
Something tells me he had a couple years after that. Like, yeah, it wasn't just like in the last year. I think he had some career.
Somebody said, Jackie D says, didn't Peyton go to Germany for his neck? No, Peyton Manning had steroids delivered to his house under his wife's name for his neck. That's what I believe happened. But anyways, look, here's the only thing that we can definitively tell you about Christian McCaffrey at this point in time. The Madden curse is real. Okay?
Seriously, say no. Somebody asks you if you want to be on the cover of the Madden video game.
No.
I mean, what are you offering? If it's not big money, go away.
It's definitely big money. I guarantee you he got big money. I guarantee you.
What would you guess?
I bet you the cover north of 10 million.
Whoa, north of 10 million?
I bet you it's a $10 million.
Oh, in that case, who cares about this Achilles?
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just guessing, right? I'm just guessing there. I have no knowledge at all. But when you are asked to be the face of a video game that is the single largest video game in the realm of sports video games that will sell, Madden does multiple billions of dollars worth of business. So 10 million to be the cover boy of it, I don't think is unreasonable at all. I don't know. I really wonder. I wonder.
If it's 10 million, my God. I mean, you can't fault him at that point. You just take the money and just cross your fingers.
Larry, when I was the voice of halftime on NBA 2K, that was 50 grand for me.
I'll tell you, there's very few things. I'm not the kind of person that is jealous of other people's opportunities, but if there's one thing that I could go back and do in life, it would be to be a voice on one of those video games just for my kids, just because the kids, when there's nothing ties you to kids like,
well,
like
isn't
the voice
that
of
why,
being a voice on a video game?
Isn't that why Michael Keaton went back to do Beetlejuice? I saw a picture of him dressed up as Beetlejuice with his grandkids around him. And they're like, they grew up watching this movie and I get to do it again for them. So I'm sure the money was really nice too. But yeah, to be able to do something and have your kids be like, that's awesome, Dad. Yeah, that's the best. That's the number. That's worth so much more than the money that ever got attached to it.
It's kind of one of the reasons I love YouTube. When I was coaching my 14-year-old in All-Stars this summer, I don't go, hey, how you doing, everybody? I'm blankety blank, and I do this and this and this. I just, hey, I am Larry, right? I never say anything about any work thing that I do.
You don't hand him a demo tape as soon as you meet people. Listen to me.
So one of the kids comes up to me at practice, and he's like, I was driving around yesterday and I heard you on 95.7 The Game. He's like, you're on the radio, Coach Larry. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I appreciate that. And my kid who's walking by, he's like, that ain't shit. My dad's got his own YouTube channel. And you would have thought he said, my dad's, got free video games for all of you guys in his cars. And it was like, everybody, all these kids, you've got your own YouTube channel. My
dad's open for Rolling Stones tomorrow night in LA.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, Elvis has entered the building or something. We got a bunch of supers here we should probably hit.
Let's hit
a bunch of people are jumping in. Trent Baalke. I wonder if this is the real Trent Baalke.
Hey,
he says the top.
So Larry, guess what? So it was my birthday, and this was when I was on 95.7 The Game, and they were trying to get special guests to come on my birthday and surprise me. And Nahagian did surprise me with Bob Knight. And I told him, I was like, dude, that's not a fucking surprise guest. You got to let me know that it's Bobby. I got to prepare for that. I wish you hadn't surprised me with that one. And he's like, look, we didn't really think we were going to get him. And he called in and he wanted to come on with you. And I was like, holy shit. So that was weird and fun and awkward because Bobby had, anyway.
Bobby's very, very difficult.
Bobby was very difficult. And anyway, another guy that he tried to get on was Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke couldn't join me, but he got my number and he called me the night of my birthday. Baalke go, hey, Damon. As soon as I heard him, I was like, what do you want as your Thanksgiving side dish, Trent?
That was a radio bit you guys had.
It was.
The great Trent Baalke. What did he say, Damon? Can I give you, before you tell me, let me guess. Hey, Damon, it's Trent. And I just wanted to say, if you want to be a tough guy and rip me, why don't you rip me now when nobody can hear it, when it's just you and me on this telephone? You know what I'm saying, Damon? Because I'm a scout and I oftentimes make comments that make no fucking sense. like the comment I just made there.
He was very nice. He was very friendly. I asked him about our past radio interactions. He's like, I would hang up and chuckle. I would. I would
yeah, right.
And chuckle. I was like, yeah, probably not. But he was very nice. He's
That's
like,
so funny, Trent, because we would watch on Sundays and chuckle.
Yeah. But look, he's like, Dave, if you're ever in Jacksonville, let me know.
Oh,
like,
I'm not coming to a nice house.
Jacksonville.
I'm
sure he has lots of square
footage.
Sold
a $4 million house in the Bay. I'm sure he's got a mansion of mansions in Jacksonville.
$4 million in mansion. $4 million in Jacksonville means you get a house bigger than the stadium. I'm pretty sure. But
where's he living? He's living at Alltel. Trent Baalke, top 3 most important 49ers for the remainder of the season. Okay, that's a good one.
Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, Nick Bosa.
I'm gonna say top 3 most important 49ers for the rest of the season. Ow, that is a good one. Who are you going with?
So I'm going to leave Shanahan out of it, but Shanahan's going to have
players. He's saying players.
Okay, players only. All right, clearly Brock Purdy, number 1. Jordan Mason might have to do a Christian McCaffrey impression all season long, so he gets to go right to the top of the charts. And I'm going to say Nick Bosa. This defense is not going to do anything that resembles great if he doesn't return to great. I believe in Fred Warner. Nick Bosa, I think it's you. Bosa, Purdy, Mason.
I will go with Mason, Ayuk, and Bernardo Green. They got to have some speed in the secondary, man. I mean, the worst thing that you can have happen to you on defense.
That's a stretch.
Because he's the only speed in their secondary. This is the one major problem with the Niners. Their secondary is slow. It's young and slow.
Hey,
They
you want
don't
to talk
have-
about things we didn't see coming? You and I were both in full agreement that this was the best secondary Kyle's ever had. When we were going through preseason, we talked about this secondary, how loaded it was. It was going to be even better than the defensive line. What happened?
They're not playing their speed. They're deactivating Luter. They're not playing Renardo Green. They're playing Yadam, and he's slow. Their safeties, and I saw this. I mentioned this. I talked about this in 5 different live streams this summer. They've got a bunch of strong safeties. They got a bunch of guys who are good in the box. Who's going to play free safety? I was assured by others that it was going to be Jair Brown, but Jair Brown is not a great coverage safety. He's a hitter. He's a box player. He's a thumper. He's an old school strong safety. He's not a deep middle free safety, and they don't have that player. So that's a problem. That's a problem. You know what it is that your wide receiver core and your defensive backfield core have to complement one another. You can't have all big guys who can't run. You can't have all fast guys that can't make pick catches in the middle of the field. You got to have a blend. You got to have a mix. And the Niner receiving room was supposed to have Jacob Cowing with his 4.3 speed, and they don't have him right now because Shanahan doesn't have confidence to put him out there. They won't play Terrace Marshall. They keep playing redundant part Ronnie Bell, and they're slow. They're slow on the edge, so they're not getting separation for the most part. They're not, and if they are getting separation, they're not moving the ball down the field with quick strike ability. And then on defense, they've literally are getting the ball thrown over their head, which is the biggest problem any defense can have is the bomb, and they can't stop the bomb. So if you can't stop the bomb, I mean, there's no way I'm going to give 10 and take the Niners against the Patriots. They can't stop the verticals. If you can't stop verticals, teams don't have to be good to beat you. They can just go up top. So we'll see. But the vertical problem is a problem, and they need more speed on the back end.
Trent,
Joseph,
super.
Yeah, thank you, Trent. Thank you, Trent. Joseph Sullivan, fellas, I think this is BA's week. Go Niners.
I hope you're right. I mean, he should officially be rounding himself into the player he's going to be this year. It's been a month now that he's been with the team almost. So, yeah, it's time. Whatever Brandon Ayuk has got to give, hopefully he gives it to him right now. They need it.
Yeah. Who's this from, Damon?
It's we're going with Angel or Angel? Mario.
But they said, remember, he told us to roll the R.
Mario.
Angel Mario. There we go. Morning, guys. If the 49ers lose this Sunday, how high is your panic meter for the season? Would you fire the defensive coordinator if they play the same? It would be on a, well, first of all, I mean, Dante Whitner, who knows a little bit about football, already has this as a code red situation. Okay. So if it's code red for Dante Whitner, it's code red for me. Yeah. I mean, if first of all, they lose this game, this is season ender. This isn't the year. You're not going from 1-3 and you just lost to the Rams, depleted Rams, who were just awful the week before, got boat raced by 40 or whatever, gave up 40 to the Cardinals, and then you lose to the Patriots at home. It's that would be, yeah. I think Schneider is probably on the hottest of hot seats. I think he's definitely on the hot seat. I think Sorensen's seat would get really hot if that happened.
I think they're so committed, right? I mean, that's just.
What were you going to say? Finish your thought.
They're not going to let Sorensen go in the middle of the year. I don't think.
I don't know about that. It depends. I guess it really depends on what kind of pressure does Shanahan and Lynch feel from whoever they answer to.
I mean, I always go to what is past his prologue, right? Has Kyle Shanahan ever dismissed one of his coordinators midseason? No. I don't think it's going to be this year.
He kind of threw Steve Wilkes under the bus after the Vikings.
He'll throw a dude under the bus, but he won't fire him. Not in season, anyways. He might fire you the day after the Super Bowl.
I think he would fire somebody in season if he thought it was like the end of the road. You know what I mean? Like if we don't make the playoffs, Jed's chasing us out of here. And
hold on, Larry, real quick, whatever TWSN.net is. So a website that I've never been to or seen in my life.
Say it,
TWSN, a story by Marissa Myers says every NFL season there are players around the league that end up retiring. Some of them are star players, and for this year, it seems to be trending towards Christian McCaffrey retiring. When the San Francisco 49ers traded for Christian McCaffrey, they knew they were getting someone who would impact the offense. McCaffrey has done that, blah, 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 blah. It's, San Francisco built around him. Anyways, and she's just suggesting it could happen. I mean, she's not reporting.
How old is McCaffrey?
There's a note at the end of it that says this article is prediction based. Well, I've never even seen that note attached to an article. So,
McCaffrey is not old.
No.
Let's see exactly what. I'm going to look it up real quick, see how old he is. What would you guess?
Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah.
27?
30? 28? 27?
He's 28.
He can't. He's not.
He just turned 28 in June.
Okay, so there you go. 28. I will say this. If you told me, don't tell me the name of the player or the sport, and you just said American athlete X is in Germany talking to Achilles tendon specialists because he's having chronic tendonitis in the Achilles, I would say sounds like a near career ending type situation.
It sounds not good.
Doesn't that sound like a guy? Would you get on a bird and fly 16 hours or whatever to Germany, Damon, if you weren't?
Munich.
Would you fly to Germany if your career wasn't on the line?
No, you have definitely reached the looking for answers portion of your rehab journey here. So it's good news rarely travels to Germany. I'll give you that. I'll meet you in the middle of the road there. Oh, now we got Ted Ginn Jr. Ted Ginn Jr.
49ers Super Bowl window is officially closed. All right.
Not yet, but it's on its way down. How about that?
Doesn't look good right now. Mike Baker says Brock's proven to be big boy and don't need to defend him. All right.
Yeah, no, I would agree that those who trying to tell you what Brock isn't either are watching and don't know what they're looking at, or just don't even know what they're looking at, or are not watching.
David E says, Larry, we get it. You liked Purdy. Thank you. Thanks for the $1.99. Greg Arjayz. I think it's Arjayz. Remember? Arjayz. Greg Arjayz says, I have premium YouTube. No ads except Sam's. Yummy.
There you go. Sam's Chowder House down in Half Moon Bay. Go get some.
Look at that. Greg Arjayz. David E. Much easier to pronounce that. Did you guys hear Jefferson's presser after the Niners game where he said they were waiting for coverage the Niners showed on that big touchdown pass? Larry, sorry for your loss. Oh, don't be. My parents had a great life. By
the way, I did not see what
I didn't see that either.
Again, when we were talking about it the following day, I said that the 49ers hand delivered the matchup that Kevin O'Connell was looking for. So
when I asked Sorensen the tough question of what the fuck, how do you get Odom on Jefferson? He had no answer. So it would not surprise me if Jefferson at his press conference, if somehow O'Connell got Jefferson in the slot matched up against Odom, wasn't he? I think it was in the slot. And if that was what they were looking for, man, they got what they wanted. They got what they wanted. Larry, they're probably the better coach team.
I don't mean to jump into your. I don't mean to jump into the starred super chats, but I just want to share with you because Clarence is a member now for 6 months. He says I always go to Germany for minor injuries.
In fact, I don't know. You can't see this. I've got a little bit of a hangnail. I'm on my way to Barcelona to get this looked at. All right. That's all a lie. Frankie Rupert says, Larry, is Trent Baalke on the hot seat in Jacksonville? I don't know if I'm on the hot seat, but I get up every morning saying, hey, coach, you and I, baby, we're doing this together, and you can make my seat as hot as you damn well please. Good old Trent Baalke is gonna survive. I'm kind of like a Gloria Gaynor in that regard. I will survive. I'm Trent Baalke.
Lots of hot seats in Jacksonville.
Do you like my Gloria Gaynor? I worked that in there.
And that was very nice. Very
Fuji
nice.
Simeon 13. Larry and Damon, your dads did a great job.
Well, thank you.
Man. Thank you, man. That means a lot to both of us. Rakib Jumani. Good morning, gentlemen. Was at SoFi last weekend. That was a sad ending. I live in SoCal, flying out for the game this weekend. I hope the Niners win, and I hope no more injuries. This is shaping up to be a strange season. Thank you, Rakib. Safe travels.
Yeah, the start of this year is about as strange as it could be. Everything the Niners wanted and hoped for going into this year, they didn't get a fraction of it. It was supposed to be a smooth ramp up and everybody on the same page, kumbaya-ing, putting the Super Bowl in the rearview mirror, focused ahead, eyes squinting into the sun. None of that has happened. It's been a headache, after trip, after stumble, after detour, after Jesus. It's been a mess.
Shanahan speaks at 12:40, so I probably got to cut this short here so I can get down there. But let's get to the rest of these. Travis Stewart. I think Peyton went to Japan for his neck surgery.
Okay, maybe.
Angel Murillo. Damon.
Angel Murillo.
There you go. Lawrence, can you ask Kyle why Bell still is rostered? Thank you, Angel. I will.
Lawrence on you.
You dropped a Lawrence on me. And by the way, it's L-A-W, but that's the French spelling. But when my mother was mad at me, bust out the Lawrence.
What's your
Lawrence?
What's your middle name?
Edward.
Lawrence Edward Krueger.
My middle name is Edward. My brother's middle name is Edward. My dad's middle name was Edward. My grandfather's middle name is Edward. All my boys' middle names are Edward.
See, that's cool. I love that. I love that family tradition. We jumbled them up. I got no names getting passed down in my family. I love that. That's cool.
But I didn't go. Did you ever think about Damon Jr. or was Jack? Because you didn't. No. I didn't go Larry Jr. You didn't go Damon Jr. That's a very popular thing to do, is to name your son after yourself. I named my youngest son after my brother. Christopher.
My name when I was a kid was a huge pain in the ass because there was Damon in American culture, which essentially did not exist right up until three significant Damons changed the Damon trajectory of now people saying, is it Darren, Devin, Damian, Darren, David, a million things.
Damien, you probably get a lot of Damien.
I got a lot of, and I hate it. I hate Damien. That bothers me the most. But Damon Wayans from In Living Color changed the acceptance of Damon in America. Damon Stoudemire with the Portland Trailblazers, and then Damon Bailey with the Indiana Hoosiers. So those three Damons helped Damon move along.
I hate my name. I'll be completely honest. Every asshole in commercials is named Larry.
I never thought of that.
Seriously, every time they want to make somebody just a fucking jerk in a movie, his name's Larry. Every moron in a commercial, every butt of every joke is and then my only one I love is Curb Your Enthusiasm. Jeff's wife in Curb Your Enthusiasm hates Larry, and she's like, Larry, you sick fuck. Larry. She's got this New York thing going. Larry. That is awesome. And my friend Winnie, his wife, when I would call his house, she's from New York, and she'd be like, "Oh, hi, Larry." She always, super nice to me, but the way she would say my name, Larry, killed me. Maitland says Larry pulled a Sean McDermott with that 9/11 analogy. No, thank you. Wasn't one of my best, but I was trying.
I actually thought it was a phenomenal analogy. It just drifted into the lane of morbidity, but I liked it. I did.
You know why? Because I taped 102 minutes from 9/11 the other day, and I watched it last night.
Oh, okay.
That's why I had 9/11 on the brain. It was called 102 Minutes That Changed America. It's a really good documentary, and they played it on 9/11. And I was so busy because the Niners were doing a bunch of stuff. So I taped it. I'm like, I'll sit down and watch this when I got time.
There you go. Larry watches bad game film and 9/11 documentaries in his free time. You got to get out more, dude.
Seriously.
We got to get you to Sam's Chowder House.
I know. I mean, God. Even my kids will sometimes be like, Dad, why are you watching this thing on 9/11? It's like, you guys were babies. I lived through it. I don't know. Heather Taylor. Hey, Heather. She says, do you guys envision them figuring this out like they have in years past?
I have hope.
I do.
I have hope. I really do. I have hope. What I hope is that we are in November looking at an 8-game winning streak, talking about, boy, that start of the year sure was where we are now. I mean, and so I hope you're right, Heather.
I hope Damon and I are sitting at Coach Sean in the first week in February going, can you believe we're here in New Orleans partying like rock stars when they lost to the Rams and we didn't think we were going to be here. That's what I'm hoping for.
If we go to Koshan, we got to put the original Koshan crew together. It was you, me, now KNBR program director Mike Holler.
That's right.
The barista.
Stern.
The barista's got to be with us. So that we got to put that table back together if that happens.
We may have twisted one up at the end of that night. Fuji Simeon, what changes and fixes are doable for the O-line? I don't know that there are any other than you got some options at center. You got some options at center.
Feliciano getting back into the mix.
But Feliciano's best spot is guard, and I think the guards are set with Banks and Pooney. Obviously, Trent's Trent. The weakness has been McKivitz. I hate to say it because I really like McKivitz, but the reality is that McKivitz right now, Damon, ranks 53rd among tackles. There's only 32 teams in the league times 2. That's 64. He's 53rd out of 64. That's not good. That's not good. Blood Moon. Any reason to believe Cone view that Kyle's losing the locker room? No. Totally without. I'm not an anti-Granter as much as others, as you guys know, but I understand why people, why he rubs people wrong, whatever. But if I thought this report was credible, I'd tell you. If I thought there was nobody goes into the locker room more often and talks to more players for a longer period of time than me, because there's a lot of people in there, but they're usually going in a group scrum, holding up things, asking one question. I don't have that. I don't have anybody who's making me do that, right? So a lot of times I'll say, screw that. I'll go talk to Terrace Marshall for 10 minutes, right? So I'm talking to these guys individually for 7, 8, 9 minutes, and I'm talking to them all the time. So I feel like I got a better sense of the players' vibe, and I have never once the entire time that I've been covering the Niners had any player even give me any verbal or nonverbal anti-Kyle Shanahan or even any pushback on anything he ever said or did. I mean, there is no evidence at all of losing the locker room.
Well, and that's, and look, the last thing I want to do is
start a war with
well, it's not even that. It's just, it's my life is better without that guy being a part of it. He is the most insecure person I think I've ever seen. But I will say this, he's also among the worst eyewitnesses that you could ever have covering your team. Like, the guy's been pretty much off about everything. So he used to report that Shanahan was losing the locker rooms on the way to Super Bowls. So there's not a lot.
He's got a story out right now that Shanahan could be fired at the end of the year.
It's just
right now. He just put it out like in the last, whatever. So, all I can tell you is what I view, and when I'm in there, I've never had any player coach. There's never been anything on camera, off camera, on mic, off mic. Never. I've had lots of conversations on the record and off the record with players every day. I've never had any of them ever even suggest that they were anything but just totally enamored with Kyle, John, and the direction of the organization. So now it wouldn't be smart for them to do that, but I'm just saying I've witnessed none of that. So if he has, I haven't. Zachary Kelway says, what trade could we do for a center field safety? That's a great question. Buda Baker is out there. I don't know if Buda's would even be considered that anymore. Is he more of a box guy still? I don't know. Or is he more of a box guy now, I should say. He's used to be a free safety type. I'd have to do a deep dive on free safeties, but and I will. But yeah, I mean, the nice thing is there's a lot of corners that can convert to safety. So you got to look at not just all the safeties out there. You got to look at the guys who are playing corner and who you think can convert. The Nerd Nest says, bring back Eddie D.
Sure.
Love Eddie D. Angel Moreno says, yay, you guys pronounced it right. LOL. Thank you. Thank you. Clarence Beeks. I always go to Germany for minor injuries. Rakib Jamani. Oh, and one save a friend flying out from and 1 for save a friend flying out from Indy. And guess what? I'm taking him to Sam's because of you guys.
Awesome, Rakib. You're gonna have, I don't know, look at it this way. We can't guarantee the outcome of any part of the weekend other than your meal will be fabulous.
Yeah. Sit on if it's a nice day too, sit on the patio. Sit on the patio, have a couple drinks, have some amazing seafood, and look out at the water. Just amazing. Really, we take it. I mean, we're West Coast people, so we take it for granted. But if you're in any kind of landlocked place, oh my God, Sam's Chowder House
from Indiana, you're going to be like, if you thought Lake Michigan looked big, wait until you see the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah. Smack Jones _919 says, I rock with you, Larry and Bruce. I just subscribed.
Thank you, Smack.
Thank you, Smack. Appreciate you. Look at my old fraternity brothers in the house. Happy hump day, boys. Got a dip. Much love. Jim Molay. Deuce. Thanks, Jimmy. Jimmy's a newlywed.
Mazel.
Got married on a Wednesday. It's a way to keep the price down. Smack Jones says, you, the only white Damon I've seen.
Yeah, man. There's not a lot
Damon
of white
Bailey
Damons out there. Damon Bailey, Damon Bruce. That might be the list. Johnny Damon. Doesn't count, though.
That doesn't count. Damon Bailey, though, must have been a big influence on you, right? Because he was before us, and he was your name, and he played for your team.
Damon Bailey
was a huge star in high school.
Is done at Indiana University the year before I got there. What do you think? He was done in 92. I get there in 93, 94, whatever it was. And the dorm room, you're new, it's your first year. And so they put your name, and on my dorm was Damon B. And the amount of people who were like, is Damon Bailey still on campus? Is Damon Bailey? And they would knock on my door. I would open it. And this is when I got used to seeing just utter disappointment on people's faces. It was just me.
Can I give you some Larry Krueger trivia that will shock you? I'm a freshman at Sac State in the fall of 1989. I'm living in Foley Hall. My room was 27A. It was 27A and B. I was 27A. I go down to my door, and all the doors are plain except my door has a TH sticker on the door. And I'm like, TH. So I'm like, why? What the heck is this TH sticker on the door? I asked a bunch of people. Nobody knows. I peeled it off. I'm like, I don't want a TH sticker on my door. Nobody else has one. All of a sudden, I get a knock on the door from the resident assistant, RA, basically like the little mini boss.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, why did you take that sticker off your door? And I'm like, because what the hell? Why do I have a sticker on my door? Nobody else has a sticker. That's why I took it off. He's like, oh, I go, what does TH stand for? He's like, oh, this was the room that Tom Hanks lived in when he went to Sac State. It stood for Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks lived in my dorm room. I lived in the exact same dorm room as Tom Hanks. So now fast forward, whatever number of years, Kev's going to Cal Poly. I'm moving him into the dorms. It's the same dorm, Damon. It was like I went to Sac State. He went to Cal Poly. It's all the state system. They built the exact same dorm. I'm like, Kev, the laundry room is the fifth door on the right. The closet is on the left. I'm literally
knew your way around a building you've never been to.
I'm like, there's a plug. He's like, is there a second plug in this room? I'm like, yeah, it's right underneath. It's in the closet up on the left. He's like, oh, how'd you know that was there? I'm like, this was my room. So there you go.
I wonder if I'll bump into Tom Hanks tonight at the last night game ever in Oakland. I'm going tonight, Larry. I'm going to go say goodbye to the Coliseum for the fifth different time. But I'm going tonight over to
Good for you.
the
I
A's
went-
game.
I took my kids to when the A's played the White Sox, and the White Sox had lost 22 in a row. I went that night, and the White Sox won that night. Heather Taylor says, I always use you guys and Guy Haberman to pull me off the ledge and reset to center. Thank you for providing the realistic views.
By the way, Guy Haberman will be joining me at 11 o'clock over on the Plus. So
Look at that.
Guy,
Look at
coming
that.
on today. Thank you.
Sounds good. Well, it's like we planned it. Well, that's going to do it for us, David. It's time for us to bolt for the door. With the 49ers, I don't know what has to happen, but you know what? They got to start winning some games. It's as simple as that.
When I get stressed out, I just put a little yacht rock on in the Miata, get a little, maybe some ambrosia. They have a nice vocal arrangement. They really did a good job. And I put the top down and I go to Sam's Chowder House and I'm looking for vegan options and vegetarian options. And I just eat, maybe some consomme. I'm a little bit of a pescatarian at times, but we'll see. But I heard Larry told me about the lobster roll, so I might get one. Have Tate try it. Although Tate's a vegetarian too.
I never liked Yacht Rock. I always associate it with Murph. I always think of Murph when I think of Yacht Rock. But sometimes you got to get a little Toto. Sometimes a little Toto is exactly what the doctor ordered. And on that note, peace, love. I'll be down in Santa Clara talking more Niners.